Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. This video is about detection and identification, meaning visual identification of things. Mostly the human form. How can we identify the human form? What gives us away? What do we see when we see somebody out in the woods in a tactical environment or whatever? Camouflage, movement, all those kind of things are very important. So how do we recognize somebody? How can we pick out and detect somebody or avoid detection? So yeah, basically, how do we pick out objects? How does the human eye work? We'll talk about that a little bit, as well as how to mitigate that so we can avoid detection. What do you see and how do you see it? We see shapes. We see patterns. Sorry for that. I guess you guys know where I am. Just a sec. Why, yes, I am filming on base. And that was the 5-minute warning for colors, meaning that the flag was about to be lowered for the evening at sunset. How do we pick out objects from the background? There's a lot of different key factors that enable us to pick out objects from a background. As you can see, you're looking at me here right now. What do you recognize? I'm not saying I'm camouflaged, but what do you recognize? Obviously my skin, because you see the contrast between my skin and the background. The flannel I'm wearing, not so much. Not as much, right? I'm not saying it's perfectly camouflaged. I'm saying it's not so much, not as much. Even the hat. The hat has quite contrast due to the lighting right now. But visual indicators and camouflage. Camouflage breaks up the signature. It helps wash you out so that you don't look like anything, or in civilian camouflage, it makes you look like something, like a tree or like bushes or stuff like that, like real tree camo, mossy oak, things like that make you look like something. Whereas military camouflage tries to make you look like nothing is there. It just kind of washes you out, and that's two forms of camouflage right there. So visual indicators. Movement is key, obviously. If I'm sitting here sitting still, it's harder to see me than if I'm moving. If I'm moving like this, you're going to see me, right? Okay, yeah. Movement is key. That's a big one. So the slower you're moving or not moving, it's much more difficult to see, to pick up either an adversary or to be seen yourself. Shine is a big one. In this case, the lighting, the way it's shining off my face, the way it shines off this notepad, things like that. Obviously, colors, contrast. You don't want to use white and bright colors out in an environment where you don't want to be detected. So that's something to think about. Shape, also. The head to neck interface. This interface right here is really recognizable as a human feature, as well as we're used to picking up faces because we're used to looking at people's faces, right? So that's what we recognize. We recognize features. So that's why face paint, camouflage, is designed to flatten your face, to wash it out. So what you do is you use darker colors on the higher areas and then lighter colors in the darker areas, like that under here and stuff. So what it does, it tries to flatten it and make it appear as if there's no features, featureless. That's what camouflage face paint does, as well as keeps down the shine, keeps you from shining. And even darker skin color, with people of color with more melatonin in their skin, still have to use camouflage paint because their skin still gets shiny. It still reflects light. So that's why even darker skinned people still need to use face paint. A lot of people think they don't, but it's not true. They do have to use it. Color, also blending. As you can see, my shirt here actually blends fairly well in this environment. If I was sitting, stationary behind that bush there, it would be very difficult for you to see me, with the exception of my neck, my face, and my hat. And my hat, once I was back in the shadows, would actually be better because it is a green, adaptive green hat by a Helicon. Silhouette, contrast versus background. As you can see here, my background is darker, so you can pick out my lighter skin areas. If I go like this and the background is lighter, see how the contrast is totally different, but now you pick up the darkness of me. If I go like this, the contrast changes. See how the contrast changes depending on what your background is. That's called silhouetting. See right there? See how easy you see me? I'm totally silhouetted. That's why in the military we don't follow the ridge of a crest of that hill up there. We don't walk right along the top of it because you can be silhouetted. You walk down here, which is the military crest, so you can't be seen. So silhouette, contrast versus background. Shadow, Also, what kind of shadows are you making? Are you in the shadows or are you not in the shadows? You can use shadows to help, conceal you. Spacing also. Spacing of patterns, like you see the squares on my shirt. If there were larger squares, it would be more effective in some areas. Just a sec. Okay, that was colors. Spacing, talking about the size of the squares in my shirt. If they were smaller, they'd be more effective in some environments. If they were larger, they'd be effective in other environments. There is no one camouflage that camouflages you effectively in all terrains and in all environments. It's it's just a best guess. It's trying to get it as effective as possible in the environments that you are in. That's what's important. I'm not going to wear desert camo in an area like this where it's all wooded, right? No, I'm not. Same with I wouldn't wear this, wouldn't be camouflaged very well in the desert, right? Okay, yeah. It needs to match your AO. Camouflage characteristics. Contrast between the colors within the uniform or the whatever you're wearing and the background, and contrasting it amongst itself. The color of it, does it match? Does it not match? The shape of the uniform, the way the lines intersect, the X that goes across your body, basically. It's how it breaks up that form, how it breaks up your form as a human being. Also, the texture of it matters. Fabric is fabric, but if you have texture to like spray paint on metal or something like that, it would be different. Or camouflage netting would be different, or fabric would be different. Different kinds of fabric are different. The texture of the shirt, see how it's wool, so it has a rougher texture than the texture of this hat. So this hat is a smoother texture, so it appears more shiny, whereas this absorbs light more and it appears darker. That's how texture comes into play. And it's all versus background. And how do you mitigate it? Mitigate it by wearing proper camouflage, being aware of silhouetting yourself, being aware of shine, shape, shadow, movement, all these things. And I'm not even talking about noise or smell or anything like that, just visual. These are visual indicators that can either help you to remain undetected or for you to detect somebody else. It's important to be able to detect somebody else if you're in that kind of environment. You want to look out for odd shapes or something like that. Because as I'm scrolling around here, you see the woods. See all these natural shapes? Well, if you saw like this, see that little kind of a shape right there? If it was more squared off, or just the fact that that's there, that may be an indicator that somebody's there. But there's organic shapes. See how these all have organic shapes and stuff like that. It's a little dark spot, but you can kind of see it's organic. You might think that is a person though. So be aware of things like this. See, that's organic. See how all these different shapes are? They're different. So train yourself to pick out and be observant of differences in the terrain around you, in the environment around you. That'll help you pick up things. Always be observant from movement also. Whether it's you're trying to avoid detection, or you're trying to find somebody, or be aware of somebody out there. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys. I love the video. It was fun making it, and I hope you guys got something from it. I thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all your guys' support being here. Having a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are doing the things. I hope you're prepping a little every day, and I hope you're prepping out of peace of mind, out of fear, and I hope you're working on your fitness. Fitness is key. I love you guys, and blessings to you and yours.